वक्रतुण्ड महाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां भिषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। नारायणं पद्मभुवं वसिष्ठं शक्तिं च तत्पुत्रपराशरं च व्यासं शुकं गौडपदं महान्तं गोविन्दयोगीन्द्रमथास्य शिष्यम् श्रीशङ्कराचार्यमथास्य पद्मपादं च हस्तामलकं च शिष्यम् तं तोटकं वार्तिककारमन्यानस्मद्गुरून् सन्ततमानतोऽस्मि। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। अपार करुणा सिन्धुं ज्ञानदं शान्तरूपिणम् श्रीचन्द्रशेखर गुरुं प्रणमामि मुदान्वहम्। यत्कृपालेशमात्रेण पुमान् पूर्णः प्रजायते तं वन्दे ब्रह्मविद्धुर्यं सद्गुरुं चन्द्रशेखरम्। संसारसागरनिमग्नजनोद्धीर्षुः यो वातरच्छिवनसिंहगुरुच्छलेन जाड्यान्धकारहरणं करुणासमुद्रम् तं दक्षिणास्य मनिषं हृदि भावयामि। सदात्मध्याननिरतं विषयेभ्यः पराङ्मुखम् नौमि शास्त्रेषु निष्णातं चन्द्रशेखरभारतीम्। साक्षात्कृतं दयानन्दं परमार्थस्वरूपिणं तत्त्वज्ञानप्रशास्तारं प्रणतोऽस्मि परं पदम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। सर्ववेदान्तसिद्धान्तगोचरं तमगोचरम्
सर्ववेदान्तसिद्धान्तगोचरं तमगोचरम्
गोविन्दं परमानन्दं सद्गुरुं प्रणतोऽस्म्यहम्।
गोविन्दं
परमानन्दं
परमानन्दं
सद्गुरुं
सद्गुरुं
प्रणतोऽस्म्यहम्।
प्रणतोऽस्म्यहम्।
शास्त्रस्य गुरुवाक्यस्य सत्यबुद्ध्यावधारणा
शास्त्रस्य
शास्त्रस्य
गुरुवाक्यस्य
गुरुवाक्यस्य
सर्वज्ञावधारणा
सत्यबुद्ध्यावधारणा
सा श्रद्धा कथिता सद्भिर्यता यया वस्तूपलभ्यते
सा
सा
श्रद्धा
श्रद्धा
कथिता
कथिता सद्भिर्यया
सिद्धिर्यया
वस्तुपलभ्यते
वस्तुपलभ्यते
सम्यगास्थापनं बुद्धे शुद्धे ब्रह्मणि सर्वदा
सम्यगावस्थापनं
सम्यगास्थापनं
बुद्धे शुद्धे
शुद्धे
ब्रह्मणि
ब्रह्मणि
सर्वदा
सर्वदा
तत्समाधानमित्युक्तं न तु चित्तस्य लालनम्
तत्समाधानमित्युक्तं न
तत्समाधानमित्युक्तं
तु
न तु
चित्तस्य
चित्तस्य
लालनम्
लालनम्
अहङ्कारादिदेहान्तान् बन्धानज्ञानकल्पितान्
अहङ्कारादिदेहान्तान्
अहङ्कारादिदेहान्तान् बन्धान्
बन्धानज्ञानकल्पितान्
ज्ञानकल्पितान्
स्वस्वरूपावबोधेन मोक्तुमिच्छामुमुक्षुता
स्वस्वरूपावबोधेन
स्वस्वरूपावबोधेन
मोक्तुमिच्छा
मोक्तुमिच्छामुमुक्षुता
मुमुक्षुषा
साधनचतुष्टय सम्पत्तिः is the Vishaya, is the topic being discussed starting from Nitya Nitya Vastu Viveka. After having discussed what is Viveka, Vairagya, Yamadishatka Sampattihi, now Mumukshutvam, Atava Mumukshuta, both are same. And here the commentator has beautifully presented how each one is the hetu for the other one, Karanam for the other one. Viveka Janyam Vairagyam. Then from Vairagya Shama, then from Shama Dhamma, Uparati Titiksha, Shraddha, Samadhanam, then Mumukshutva. And the introduction to the shloka is given by the commentator. We saw Etadrisha Sadhana Ganabhanditasya Eva Mumukshutvam Sambhavati. Mumukshutvam Sambhavati. Dharma Jignasayaha Krute Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampattihi Anivaryam. Jignasa, the inquiry into Brahma. That is Brahma Jignasa. Mumukshutvam, Mumukshu or Mumuksha is the desire to become free. The desire to become free from dukkha, free from being a wanting person, free from all the limitations. You can put it in two ways. Wanting to be free from all kinds of limitations, or want to be a complete person. Want to be free from limitations means want to be a complete person, a non-lacking person. So lacking, is it really true that we lack? Do I lack? so that fulfilling that lackness or gaining that what I lack, that fulfillment of fulfillment take place so that there is no lack in me. I become complete. That cannot be. You cannot become fulfilled or you cannot become a complete person by fulfilling all your lackness. Because if you really lack, then it cannot be fulfilled. If even if it is fulfilled, that will subject to that will subject to disappearance. That will go away in time because you fulfill it by your action, by your karma, by doing something you fulfilled. Say, for example, fulfillment in terms of money. Having money, you think that you are fulfilled, but money is not that something which stays with one person for ever. May stay for some time, for a length of time, subject to, but also subject to going away. Health also, relations, everything in the world is subject to depart, subject to, because the very person is subject to going away. Then what to talk of what he gains externally through his effort to fulfill himself. Therefore, fulfillment by gaining material things which are outside, a person cannot become a complete person, a fulfilled person, a purna purushaha, not possible. So therefore, if at all purnatvam is there, it has to be natural, it has to be there. It should be your very being. It is not that you become fulfilled, you discover the already existing fulfillment, that fullness. So if that is so, then what makes me feel that I am not fulfilled, I am not complete, and go after fulfilling myself by fulfilling all my desires, gaining all I want? That is due to ajnanam, ignorance. Therefore, because of ajnanam, only a person entertains the notion of lackness. Therefore, he wants to get fulfilled and he goes after chasing after things, gaining things, and wants to become fulfilled. That is never going to happen. For ajnanam. And in the process, what happens? The person feels more and more bonded instead of discovering the fulfillment, the freedom. Fulfillment is freedom, being fulfilled, purnaha. That is what real swatantrata. A person feels bound, accumulating or accomplishing things doesn't make a person really fulfilled. So therefore, it is not possible by any accomplishments, fulfillment, purnatvam. Otherwise called moksha, liberation. Therefore, moksha, freedom, is not possible by gaining fulfillment. There is no gaining purnatvam. It is discovering the purnatvam. If it is discovery, then the person has to know. Discovery means to discover, remove the cover, and know one's swarupa. It means knowledge. Therefore, the person starts his spiritual journey as a mumukshu, then it ends up in a jignasu, inquiry. As mumuksha is desire for moksha, that desire for moksha is converted into desire for knowledge. The knowledge only can liberate me. This can liberate is not really can liberate. It is discovering the Purnatam, that is liberation. The knowledge only can remove the ignorance and makes me recognize the already existing, the fulfillment, the fullness, Purnaha, a non-lacking person, which is myself. Therefore, Brahma Jignasayaha, that is why Atato Brahma Jignasa. Brahma Sutra starts with Atato Brahma Jignasa, not Atato Mumuksha and all. Brahma Jignasa. Why should we inquire into Brahma? Because that Brahma, the word Brahma itself derived from the Dhatu Bruhi, Vriddhau, which is total Purnaha, discovery, the inquiry into the fullness, Purnatvam. The inquiry into the Brahma, which is revealed by the Shastra. And the inquiry results in recognizing that Brahma is myself. So therefore, all can do this inquiry. Of course, yes. But for that sadhana chatushtaya sampatti is indispensable. Vidya nitya vastu vivekaha, yamatrartha palabhoga viragaha, shamadhi shatka sampatti, and finally mumukshutvam. Therefore, without sadhana chatushtaya sampatti, Brahma jignasa cannot be made. Brahma cannot be inquired into. Or even if the person inquires into, the result cannot be accomplished. It can be only an academic inquiry. It will not become a spiritual inquiry. For academic inquiry, sadhana chatushtaya sampatti not required. A person lacking this qualification, fourfold qualification, can also do this study vichara. It is just a piece of knowledge. Tattvam Basi, that Brahma you are, just remains a piece of knowledge. Yes, as Paroksha, it is a Aparavidya, the Brahma is something which is away from me. Brahma Asti. It's a piece of knowledge, any other knowledge, like any other knowledge, any other branch of science. This is also one piece of knowledge, it will remain. Therefore, Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampatti is important. Therefore, here, Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampatti for whom? For the Mumukshu. For the Mumukshu. So therefore Mumukshu is the one who seeks, who desires, who seeks freedom, who seeks moksha. So therefore the person is, you can say, relatively eligible, because there is no absolute eligibility, only relative eligibility. There is no ideal spiritual seeker. Ideal spiritual seeker, that is Adhikari, is one who has all these qualifications, fourfold qualifications in full measure. There is no full here, because always it is subject to improvement. Therefore, a person in Adhikari must be having relatively all these qualifications, should have imbibed these. So therefore, if the person now, after having gained or discovering in himself the Adhikari, that's Adhikaritva, having this qualification, for that person is only this Brahma Jignasa. That's why Athatho Brahma Jignasa. After having acquiring these qualifications, then the person should inquire into Brahma. So therefore, it is a prerequisite. It is very clear. That is the first sutra, even in Brahma Sutra. That is why all the Grantha first discusses the eligibility and the path of the seeker. And here Acharya, in the introduction, he says, Etadasha sadhana gana manditasya. Sadhana gana manditasya. Sadhana gana, the group of sadhana. What are they? Purvoktanam, Viveka Vairagya Samadhinam, Trayanam, Sadhananam, Anantaram Eva. Mumukshutvam is the last one. But before us, said Viveka Vairagya, etc. After having gained all this, then moksha ichcha, that is mumukshutvam, comes. Therefore, etadrisha sadhana gana manditasya, it's a compound, it's a beautiful word, referring to the person. Etadrisha sadhana gana, a group of sadhana. This group of means, that is Viveka Vairagya Samadhi, which has been told before. Manditasya, Yuktasya, the one who is endowed with. Therefore, for the person who is endowed with these group of sadhanas, qualifications, which means I have been told Viveka Vairagya Samadhi, Manditasya, Yuktasya, Shashti Bhakti, Yuktasya, Purushasya, for the person. Referring to the person here. Therefore, it's a compound, Bhagavagi Samasa. Etadrisha sadhanagara manditasya. Shashti Bhakti of Etadrisha sadhanagara mandita. You will not see this word in the dictionary because it is the compound. Etadrisha sadhana gana manditasya. Four words are there. Etehi sadhanehi. Etadrisha sadhanagana. Etadrishaha cha te sadhananam ganaha. Etadrisha sadhana ganaha. Etadrisha sadhana ganaihi manditaha. Manditaha is yuktaha. Yuktaha purushaha. Tasya, for him alone mumukshutvam, this moktam icha mumukshuta is sambhavati, is possible, utpadyate. Not for the other person. Mumukshutvam. Moktum ichati mumukshuhu. Mumukshoho bhavaha mumukshutvam or mumukshuta. The one who desires moksha is mumukshuhu. Mumukshuhu referring to the person, Tananta. The status of having the desire for freedom. That is mumukshutvam, mumukshuta. Na anyasya, not for the other person. So, therefore, for the person who is endowed with the qualifications said above, for that person, this mumukshutvam sambhavati. It means for mumukshutvam, prerequisites are there. The person must be a Vairagya, Viveki, Vairagi, then Shama, Dhamma, all this must be there. Then only Sambhavati, na anyasya, not for the other person. Na anyasya iti idanim, therefore, mumukshuttam aha, ahankara iti, therefore, Acharya, Shankaracharya, mumukshuttam aha, this is what mumukshuttam, ahankara iti. See, the commentator says. Good. So therefore, we can see the hetu, one is the hetu for the other. So mumukshutvam, with mumukshutvam, the person relatively becomes an adhikari, a sadhaka. Really, a person becomes a sadhaka. The spiritual journey starts after having acquiring this qualification. Spiritual life begins. For that only religious life is important. For gaining this sadhana chatushtaya sampatti, only religious life, doing nitya karma, whatever karma to be done, the karma is done with the attitude of yoga buddhya, karma kartavyam, and upasana, etc. By all this, these are the sadhanas for getting sadhana chatushtaya sampatti. And sadhana chatushtaya sampatti is the prerequisite for inquiry into Brahma, through which knowledge is gained. And knowledge is the only means for moksha. This is how the whole things are connected. So sadhana sampattehe ka avashyakata. What is the importance or what is the need for sadhana chatushtaya sampatti? Because only for that person alone, only for that person alone, there is freedom. Only for that person there will be moksha. So the person must be a nitya vastu viveki, must have purna vairagyam, should have indriya nigraha. That person alone, for that person alone is the possibility for moksha. Therefore, that person is referred to etadrisha sadhana gana banditaha. Na anyasya na sambhavati. Anyasya is meaning what? That anyasya other than this person. Other than this person, who is other than this person? Yaha samsare asaktaha asti. Other person, one who is immersed in this samsara, deeply attached to samsara. For him, tasya purushasya krute, tasya purushasya mukhe eva mokshasya varta bhavet. Natu vastavika iksha. The other person may be an informed person, but not is really a seeker. For him, moksha is there only just a lip service, only in the mouth. It's not really that desire is there. The desire should be the desire to be free. That is what moksha is. Otherwise, just saying moksha, desire for so many things are that takes priority in life, but not the desire for moksha. Desire for moksha is so feeble, that is why it occupies in the life the least priority. When the desire for moksha really comes first, and all the other things subserve this, then only the person is yes sadhana chaturtaya sampannaha. Otherwise, it's just uh, it's it's just in words. They are just in words alone. That desire should become as like any other desires. Becomes tivra, becomes very strong. That is why tivra icha. In fact, the icha for moksha also can be manda. The next shloka acharya are going to say that manda, madhyama, and tivra. Three types of adhikarya also is based on this manda mamukshutvam, madhya mamukshutvam, tivra mamukshutvam. Tivra mamukshu is that person who has such a longing, burning desire for freedom, like a person whose head is on fire. He will not wait for someone to bring water, or he will not wait for water, clean water. Whatever water is available, just quench immediately. That is the Tivra Mukshutvam. As we have desire for such desire for other things in the world, it means that for other things they take priority in life. When they are replaced by the desire for moksha, then only the person really becomes a seeker. Till then, a person is trying to be a seeker, not really a seeker. Seeking to be a seeker, and once he becomes really a seeker, then the seeker for the seeker only that spiritual life starts. Till then, it is only becoming a seeker. It's a process. It doesn't happen in a day. It takes years, it takes sometimes lives also. Raghunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate. The jnana liberates a person that very instantly. Jnana happens today and moksha is not after 10 days or after 10 years. It is here and now. If that is so, then what makes a person still suffer in samsara in spite of having listening to Shastra? Because of the lack of the mumukshutvam. Because the mind is scattered and it is all over going and chasing after so many things in life. So therefore it is not really intense. Icha is not intense. Icha is intense for other things, not for moksha. So therefore that icha will be manda mumukshuta. Icha is there. When you ask the person, he will say, I also want to be free. But that desire is only manda mumukshuta. Tadrisha purushasya mokshuttam na sambhavati. Mumuksha, because he lacks other qualifications, other things, viveka, not there, vairagya. Not there means not as much it is expected to be there to that viveka converted into a tivra vairagyam. Similarly, everything should be tivra. Therefore, sadhana purushasya mumukshutvam na sambhavati. That's why na anyasya, the Acharya says. And ahankarat iti. So, ahankarat iti, the shloka begins with ahankara. Ahankaradi, the ahankara, etc. The person who is bound from that, ahankaradi bandha, that freedom from that, mokshaha, that mokshaha, muktimicha, swaswarupa vimuktata, ta mumukshuta. And Acharya here, mumukshuttvasya lakshanam, beautifully says in this shloka. Generally in Tattva Bodha and even in Vedanta Sara, which is supposed to be studied after studying some Upanishads and even Panchadashi, etc., because Acharya there quotes from different Shrutis and Prakana Grantha. There also moksha is not defined like this. Muktim icha mumukshuta, the desire to be moksha me bhujat iti icha iti mumukshutvam. Simply it is defined. May I become free. That is how it's defined. But here only Acharya defines so beautifully. Ahankarari dehantan bandhan ajnana kalpitan swaswarupa avabhodena muktim icha mokshuta. It's a complete definition. Ahankarari dehantan. It's a beautiful compound. In fact, two Bhagavarigis are there. Ahankarat arabhya. Stula sharira paryantam. Vartamanan, this ahankara, buddhi, manaha, indriya, prana, this shariradi. Ahankaraha adi yeshante ahankaradaya, Bhagavarigi samasa. So ahankaradaya ado yasya saha, degaha ante yasya. So ahankaradi dehantaha, starting from ahankara up to dega paryantam, this stula sharira paryantam, tan, ahankaradi dehantan. This is the Visheshanam to Bandhan. These alone bind a person, starting from Ahankara. Ahankara is Ahankara. That is the sense of I-ness. Not I is not Brahma. This is Ahankara, the Jivatma, Aham Sukhi, Aham Dukhi. That is Ahankara. Ahankara is the sense of individuality, is Ahankara. Not in the other sense. They say is Ahankaram person, then not in that sense. Ahankara is a sense of individuality. All these are bandhan. Ahankaradi dehantan, these are bandhan. These are they bind a person. Bandhana rupan, samsara, pasha. This is what really pasha is. Pasha is that which binds. Like they say Pashupati and Pasha. Pasha is the noose. In fact, these are the real noose. Noose which binds a person, which stultifies a person, this ahankara devanta, through which the ahankara deha, through which the person is bound to other people or other things. From that only comes mama iti. Shankaracharya in the Bhashya many places is aham etesha mama idam, aham etesham, I belong to these and they belong to me. This is how bondage, bound. Samsara is Samsara is simple. Aham etesha mama idam. This is what samsara is. I belong to them and they belong to me. It could be anything, person or things. So bandhan. And these are ajnana kalpitan. These are not real. If they are real, then they cannot go away from you. It has to be there all the time. They cannot arrive at particular time and go away at some time. It should be there forever. Therefore, ajnana kalpitan. They are not really there. It is there, but not really. It means they are kalpitan, they are superimposed. Aropitan. So, katam, kena, ajnanena, avidyaya, because of ignorance, these are superimposed. Ajnanena kalpitaha, ajnana kalpitan, tan, bandhan, ahankara tan, bandhan, ajnana kalpitan. Then swarupa, praswarupa avabodhena. Swarupa is one's, swarupa is nature, one's swarupa, the, the one's nature. Like we say, the swarupa of fire. What is the swarupa of fire? Hotness. That is swarupa. Minus that, the fire cannot be fire. The fire is fire because it has the hotness, it burns. That is the swarupa. The swarupa of Surya is to shine, to burn. That is swarupa. That is its nature. But here we are talking about the swarupa of everything. Even the fire also, we say swarupa, but that swarupa of the fire is the fire as this quality or this swarupa, this nature of burning, that it has because of what? That is what real swarupa. The fire also having this swarupa of this burning, because of what? That is the swarupa, and that is the swarupa of all, and that is Brahma. So therefore, Swaswarupa. Here we are talking about the person, the seeker, the mumukshu. Therefore, the seeker in the beginning he has the avabodha, the understanding that I am this body, mind, sense complex. That is not the swarupa. Inquiring into that, if body is the swarupa, then body has to be there all the time. But I exist without body also. A fire doesn't exist without hotness. There is no cold fire. But in the case of the shariram, when the person says, I am this is my body, mind sense complex is my swarupa, it doesn't exist all the time, even in the Vyavaharika world, in the empirical world. Because when you go to sleep, you don't remember. You don't remember your body. Body, whether it exists or not, we don't know. But there is experience of non-experience of this body. That is also an experience. And that experience is very sukha experience, an happy experience. Body experience of the non-experience of the body. That is why after deep sleep, the person says, I had a very good sleep. I didn't know anything. It means the pains of the body, the pain or whatever it is, the indriyas, everything were completely dormant. So the absence of that, therefore the person experienced a, an happiness which is not experienceable in the Jagrat Avastha, in the waking world, compared to the happy experiences in the waking state. That experience what the person enjoys in the deep sleep, that is incomparable. In fact, that is a Swarupa. But of course, that is in that state also Ajnanam is there. Therefore, it is not complete. That Ajnanam also, if it is gone, then that happiness, that is you, that is what Brahma. Therefore, Swaswarupa Avabodhena, Swaswarupa Avabodhena, by Avabodha, by understanding, Avabodha, by knowing of what? Swasya Swarupam, one's own nature. Swasya Swarupam Swaswarupam. Swaswarupasya Avabodha. Tena, by that alone, the person can become free. Therefore, Swaswarupa Avabodhena, from this Ajnana Kalpitan, Bandhan, Ahankaradi, Dehantan, the desire to become free, Moktum Icha, Moktum Icha Dhatu Much Dhatu, Muchale Mokshane, and Tuman Pratyaya. Munchati, Munchataha, Munchanti, fourth conjugation. That Icha is Icha Tivra Avilasha, Icha. Moktum Icha Mumuksha. Moktum Ichuhu Mukshuhu. Mumukshoho Bhavaha Mokshata. So therefore, that is what Mokshata, Mokshutam. So here the Shloka Acharya says some important thing. Three things he says. One is, what is that Icha, Kasa Icha, Kasmat Mukti, Katam Mukti. Kasmat Mukti, Mukti from what? That is number one. And now that Mukti is gained, and what is Mumukshuta, what is Mumuksha? Kasa Icha, what is the desire? Kasmat Mukti, from what? Moksha Mukti, if you ask. Mukti from what? Mukti from the freedom from Ahankaradi Dehanta Bandaha. Bandhanat Mukti. Generally, people feel Bandha when there is problem in the family, a problem in the world. While living in the world, they feel some kinds of problems they face, and that's because of that they feel they are bound. They don't complain when they feel happy, when they experience happiness. Complain only when they are troubled with difficulties. And that the suffering is because of this tadatmyam. Tadatmyam is identifying with this body, mind, sense complex. Therefore, a person feels sukhi or even dukkhi in the world. But the Swarupa of the person is Atma, Brahma. That is never, it is bound. It is always free. But because of ajnanam, because of ignorance, ahankara, buddhi, manaha, the person considers himself to be ahankara, buddhi, manaha, stula sharyam, which is spread all over. So therefore, by these, a person is bound. And these bondage, is it real? If it is real, there cannot be a solution for its removal. Therefore, this bandhaha satyaha nasti. Yadi bandhaha satyaha bhavati, tarhi tasya nashaha kadapi na bhavati. Bandha is real, then there cannot be any way to remove it. Therefore, ajnana kalpitan. Therefore, bandhasya kasmat muktihi, bandhanat muktihi, and bandha is removed only by ajnana. Therefore, katam muktihi, if you ask, It's removal of ajnanam. It means it requires jnanam. Therefore, swaswarupa avabodhena. Because bandha is due to bhranti. भ्रान्त्या उत्पन्नस्य बन्धस्य निवृत्तिः कथं भवति केवलं ज्ञानेन एव सम्भवति it's because of bhranti not brandy because of bhranti alone this ajnanam is there that can go away only by knowledge not by any other means chittasya shuddhaye karma natu vastu upalabdhaye all these things we have seen before. So Devan Pujayantu, Yajantu, Patantu, Shastrani, Bhajantu Devan, all these things are fine, but only by knowledge alone it goes. Therefore, Swaswarupa Avabodhena, very clearly said. Because this is Bandha is Ajnana Janitaha, Agankara Adi Bandhaha. Therefore, they can be removed only by knowledge. Like a person mistaking a rope for a snake, the rope jnanam, the sarpa bhrantihi, the sarpa bhranti goes away only when Rajju Jnanam happens. When rope knowledge happens, then only Sarpa Bhrantihi goes away. Otherwise, how does that rope, how does that Sarpa Bhranti, the mistaken notion of that is a Sarpa, a snake, will go away? There is no other way of removing the non existing snake. The snake doesn't really exist. And you attempt, you struggle, that you are afraid, suffer because of the experiencing the non-existing snake. Experiencing the non-existing snake. Snake is not there, but you experience the snake and therefore you suffer. What is the way to remove this suffering? There is no other means other than knowledge. Therefore, swaswarupava bhodena. Same way here samsara we suffer because it is due to bhranti. Therefore, jnanam is required. And that jnanam, for that jnanam to happen, unless the person has got tivra icha, it is not possible. That is why muksuta. Aham baddhaha asmi, first one has to recognize I am bound. Maya etasmat bandhanat maya muktavya. I should be free from this baddha. First one has to recognize oneself to be bound and one has to have the desire to be free from this bandha. That's why Devrata Mumukshutvam, the Icha is required. This pursuit also is, like any other pursuit, is prompted by the desire. Because without desire, no person will engage in any action. All actions are desire prompted. But this desire is not an ordinary desire. This desire, in fact, it is a Shuddha Kamaha. It is a desire not comparable to the other desires, other petty desires, what we have for objects and things and persons in the world. This desire takes us across this ocean of samsara. Other desires, it plunges us into samsara. Therefore, this is not an ordinary desire, not comparable with the ordinary desires. In fact, a person must have it, and that prompts a person towards this spiritual inquiry. So it's a beautiful, complete definition. Now, the commentator, Acharya, here says, explains, Antakaranameshu chakshuradishu vasmani. Ahamityabhimanena tishtatyabhasa tejasa. Ahankaraha sa vigneyaha. The shloka comes later. The numbers may not be matching it. This shloka, these are quoted from Vivekachudamani itself. Ityuktya chitta prati palana upetamantakharanam ahankaraha. Ahankara is defined in this shloka. Acharya is going to define what ahankara is later. Yadva bhokta jivaha ahankaraha. Anandamaya koshanama swatma nirupane suktikate sukaleshaihi abhimanute sukhi bhavamiti आनंद कोश नाम स्वहंकार खतम भवेदात्मा इस स्वात्म निरूपणम प्रकरण ग्रंथ इति उक्तत्वात् that it is told. So what is ahankarah? Bhokta eva ahankarah. Jivah bhokta ahankarah. So the Vivekachudamani later we will see antakaranam eteshu chakshuradishu vashvani abhasa tejasa अगमिति अभिमानेन तिष्ठति सः अहङ्कारः विज्ञेयः इति said later. Antakaranam is antarindriyam. This manobuddhyatmaka antarindriyam is antakaranam. For that we have the word only mind in English. We don't have any other word. Antakaranam, manaha, buddhihi, chittam, ahankaraha, everything put together it's called mind in English. In fact, antakaranam, the inner instrument, depending on the role it plays 4 different roles. Therefore, it is called manaha, buddhihi, chittam, ahankaraha. Same antarindriyam, playing 4 different roles, called antakharanam. Therefore, eteshu chakshuradishu, pratyaksheshu chakshuradishu, jnanendriyeshu, chakshuhu adihi, yesham tani chakshuradini, varshmani, stula shariram. So, chakshuradihi, chakshu, all the indriyas, jnanendriyas, sense organs of perception, and varshmani, that is stula sharira. Aham iti abhimanena, aham iti, aham karta, aham bhokta, iti atmabuddhya tadatmyena, aham iti abhimanena. Abhimana is tadatmyam, identifying oneself to be this sharira manasangata, indriyadishu. Indriyas function, eyes see, but we say I see. Eyes see, but I say I see. Ears hear, but I hear, I say. It is the job of the ears to hear, job of the nose to smell. All the sense organs, they do their job promptly. They don't even ask permission, excepting some sense organs. These ears don't ask permission. They are open. There is no shutter. Therefore, sound comes, it has to hear. There is no other choice. Nose also. Unless you plug your nose with any cotton, nose also will smell it. Doesn't ask your permission. Eyes are also like that only, but eyes at least we have a shutter, we can close it if we don't want to see. So all the sense organs, they do their respective jobs without crisscrossing faithfully. They do their job. But what I say is, I say I see, I smell, I hear. I never say I see, hear, ears, ear, 2 ears, ear, and nose, nostrils, smell. I don't say that. Therefore, ahamiti abhimana is there. Tadatmya, that is called tadatmya. Vartate, tishtati, vartate eva. Abhasa tejasa. Abhasa tejasa. Tejas is prakasha. Abhasa is semblance. The antakaranam, the body, mind, the senses, all these are jada. These are inert. They are anatma. Antakaranam is also anatma only. It is also inert. It is also material. Mind is also material only. But it is different from other things that it is a very subtle jada where there is a reflection of Atma Chaitanyam. Therefore, the Antakaranam becomes sentient. Therefore, the person is also is conscious person. The person with the body is conscious. I'm not talking about consciousness, just conscious. So, Antakaranam being Jada, in the Antakaranam there is a reflection of Chaitanyam, Chit. Because Antakaranam is made like that, it is a fine Jada material, inert material, which has the capability to reflect the Brahma Chaitanyam, like the clean water or pure water can reflect sun, not a mud. That any water, in fact, reflection is reflection. So the sun is reflected in the water. So to the Antakaranam, sun is reflected in the water, not on the earth. Yeah, earth cannot reflect sun, but water does. Earth is also material. Water is also material, but there's a difference. So too, Antakaranam is a different type of material, which enjoys the, the capability to reflect Chaitanyam. Therefore, Chaitanyam is reflected in the Karanam, that's called Chidabhasa. The Chidabhasa is Jivaha. The Chidabhasa is reflected in the Antakaranam. Therefore, this inert body becomes conscious as though it is borrowed conscious. And therefore, the person is conscious of body because of Tadatnyam, identification with the body, not with the Chaitanyam, the Shuddha Chaitanyam. He has got Abhimana with the reflected Chaitanyam, Chidabhasa, Antakaranam, and therefore this body makes sense because of which this enjoys being conscious. Therefore, the Ahankara is born. Therefore, Abhasa Tejasa, Chidabhasasya, Chaitanya Pratibimbasya, Prakasharena, Tejasa, Samartyena, Ahankaraha, individuality is born, Sahavignayaha, that is, should be known, iti Yuktya, Chit Prati Palana Upetam, Chit Prati Palana Upetam. Pratipalanam is Pratibimba, reflection. Chaitanyasya Pratibimbena Sagitam. Chitaha Pratipalanam, Chit Pratipalanam. Pratipalanam is reflection, Pratibimbaha. Chit Pratipalena Upetam, endowed with reflected consciousness. Antakaranam, the mind. That is what is called Ahankaraha. Atma doesn't have Ahankara. Atma is Sarvavyapi, Atma Shuddha Chaitanyam. That Atma, when it is reflected in a pot, that Atma when reflected in the Antakaranam, like the sun when it is reflected in the water in the pots. So many pots are there. Now each pot, there is one sun. How many suns are there? There is only one sun. Because it is reflected in the pot, different pots, it appears as a different pots, different suns. So two jivas also appears many, plural, but there is only one Atma. Therefore, Antakaranam, so Chit Pratipalana Upetam Antakaranam Agankaraha. That is definition of Agankara. Antakaranasya Vritti Visheshaha Agankaraha. Chit Chaitanyam Pratipalana Pratibimbitam Bhavati Antakarane. Therefore, Ahankaraha, individuality, is born. Atava, or Acharya says, Bhokta Jivaha, Ahankaraha Bhokta. Aham Bhokta, Karmapala Bhokta, Jivatma. Ahankaraha, Anandamaya Koshanama. Because Bhokta, enjoyer. Therefore, enjoyer means there is Anandamaya Kosha. Anandamaya Kosha Shabdena Vachyaha Ahankaraha Anandamaya Kosha Nama. Nama is like Atman Shabda, it's a compound. Anandamaya Kosha nama iti. Anandamaya kosha nama Swatma Nirupane. Swatma Nirupane is that is a Prakarana Grantha written by Acharya. So, Jivaha is Bhokta, the enjoyer. Enjoyment means there is Anandamaya Kosha. See, the Shariram is looked upon as five Kosha. This Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya is Aham Karta, that is Vijnanamaya. I am enjoyer, then Anandamaya. So, Jivaha Ahankaraha, Bhokta can be defined as Ahankara as Bhokta. Bhokta, Jivaha, Ahankara. Another way of defining Ahankara. So, Chittalina Upeta Antakarana Ahankaraha iti defined in Vivekachudamani by Acharya. And Swatma Nirupanam, another Prakana Grantha, there Shankaracharya defines Jivaha, Bhoktaha, Ahankaraha, Anandamaya Koshanama, Swatma Nirupanam, it's a Grantha. Tatra, Acharya defines this shloka is there. What is that shloka? Suptaihi, Suptigatai Sukaleshaihi, Abhimanute Sukhi Bhavami iti, Ananda Koshanama. It occurs in this shloka. That's what Acharya, a commentator, shows. Andamaya Koshanama Sohankaraha Katam Bhavedhatma iti. Suptigatehi. Supti is sleep. Sushupti. Sushupti Kale. Suptim Gataha means Suptim Gataha, Supti Gataha, one who has gone to sleep. Sukaleshehi. Sukasya Leshaha, Sukaleshaha. So, Sukaleshehi. There is Sukha Lesha in Sushupti Avastha. Because in deep sleep, nothing is experienced. Therefore, absence of problems, absence of worries. Therefore, there is Sukha. Because that Sukha is experienced in only in deep sleep, therefore, that Sukha is not permanent. We are talking about Sukha which is permanent, which is Swarupa Sukha. When we say Swarupa Sukha, we use the word Ananda. Sukha is experienceable pleasures are called Sukha. When they are experienced, means there must be an object and subject is there. Subject experiences pleasures. Therefore, there is experience and Sukha, happiness. That happiness is subject to arrival, subject to departure. Yeah. And that is not the Sukha, Swarupa Sukham. Swarupa Sukham, when we say, we don't use the word Sukha, we say Ananda. And Anandamaya Kosha is there because that Kosha is responsible for any experience of Ananda, whether in waking or even deep sleep, because in deep sleep that alone is available. That Karna Anandamaya Kosha or Karna Shariram, that Kosha, that Avastha is not free from. That deep sleep state is not free from Avidya. Avidya is there. How do you know Avidya is there? After you get up, you say, I don't know anything. I don't know anything means it's Avidya, ignorance. It is not enlightened sleep. There is no enlightened sleep. If at all if there is enlightened sleep, it is only in the Jagrata Avastha, that is Samadhi, where the person is completely aware. That is not a sleep, in fact. That is Samadhi. So it's the Sukha, which is obtained in the Sushupti Avastha, having experiences that Abhimanute, the person thinks Abhimanam Karoti, Aham Sukhi, Sukham Anubhavami, I enjoy Sukham, complete Sukham. That is Ananda Kosha Nama. That has the name Anandamaya Kosha. Anandamaya Heva Koshaha, Anandamaya Koshaha. Anandamaya Koshaha Nama Yasya Saha, it's a compound. Therefore, Anandamaya Kosha Naman Pratipadikam. And referring to that person, this Ahankara, Saka Ahankaraha Anandamaya Kosha Nama. That Anandamaya Kosha is a Sanya, it's a Nama Kosha Nama, iti is Sanyavan, this Ahankaraha. That Ahankara is Anandamaya Kosha Nama. Katam Bhavedatma, how can it become Shuddha Pratyahatma, Shuddha Atma, Katam Bhavati, Na Argati. Aksheparte Prashtaha. Katam is how. How that can be Atma. Ahankaraha, that is Anandamaya Kosha Nama, Saha Ahankaraha. Ahankara, which is known by the name Ananda Kosha, and that Ananda happiness which is experienced in the Sushupti Avastha, Sushupti Gataihi, Sukha Leshehi, a person, therefore thinks Abhimanute, a person Aham Sukhi Bhavami iti, Abhimanam Karoti, Abhimanute, in which Avastha, Sushupti Avastha, deep state. That is Ahankaraha, and that Ahankaraha, how can it become Atma? Because it is because because it is that that the Ahankara enjoying the happiness that Anandamaya Kosha Nama Saha Ahankaraha, that Sukha is experienced. In the Sukha experienced is not Swarupa Sukha. And deep state it is experienced. Because of it the person says Agam Sukhi Bhavami. Agam Sukhi Bhavami means it cannot be Atma. Because Atma is ever Ananda Swarupa. There is no Agam Sukhi Bhavami. Aham Brahmasmi, Brahma is Purna, Aham Tat Chit Ananda Swarupaha. Aham. When the person says that is his Ahankara is sublated, is with that is one with Brahma. But the person doesn't say, and again he says, Aham Sukhi Bhavami, in which avastha, Sushupti avastha. How can that be Atma? Atma is defined as Sat Chit Ananda. Because the person experienced Ananda in the Sushupti avastha, therefore we cannot say that Ahankara, which is obtained in the Sushupti avastha as Bhokta Aham Sukhi Bhavami, cannot be Atma. Katam Bhavet is Aksheparte. Prashnaha na bhavati, cannot be. Ityatah iti Swarupa Nurupane, Shankaracharya says. So ruling out, this is called Kosha Vivekaha, Panchakosha Vivekaha, as we saw very in depth in Panchadashi. Each kosha is taken and how it is negated for not being Atma. As we don't, it's simple logic, as we don't accept this Sharira as Atma. What is the definition of Atma? Atma is not born, it's not gone, it is forever, Nityaha, Shuddhaha, Muktaha, always it is Nitya Muktaha, ever free, always pure. It is not subject to any sorts of changes, Avikaraha, Nirvikaraha. And what about this body? Body all the time undergo changes. It is Anityaha. Today it is, tomorrow it is not. Then what this is Annamaya Kosha. What about Anandamaya Kosha? That also, if this Kosha undergoes all these changes, all the Vikaras, not same, all changes happening all the time. All the Koshas also undergoing change. That which changes, that cannot be me. I should be that who is the Adhara for all the changes and remains unchanged. That alone is me. That alone is Atma. That alone is Ishvara, Brahma, Sohamasmi. Therefore, these koshas have to be negated one by one as not Atma. That is Panchakosha Viveka, as it is done in Taittiriya Upanishad, as well as in Panchadashi also. So in this Shloka Acharya here, this Swatma Nirupana Shloka, Ahankara, which is known by the name Ananda Kosha, obtained in the Sushupti Avastha, how can it be Atma? Cannot be. The remaining part of the commentary we will see the next class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Dhanyavadaha.
धन्यवाद जी।
ಧನ್ಯವಾದ.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದ ಸರ್.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದ.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದ ಸರ್.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದ.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದ.